Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. This is Justin Bordeaux, and today we're going to dive into even deeper the problems that plague a brand. Yes, I am actually mostly a personal brand strategist, but these components are absolutely necessary when working with high functioning entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders. And it's important to understand not just the brand, but the effect that not solving these problems have on a quantifiable level, and it's different for everybody. In my career of 22 years helping companies build brands, one of the biggest components is that I found so much more impact in an organization when I can work with a thought leader executive who actually really wants to get to the next level. And that's my objective here. Get you to the next level no matter where you're at. We're all at different places. And I'm going to go ahead and walk you through even deeper the brand ecosystem, the problems within each of these categories, and then we're going to go ahead and dive deep into actually developing a strategy for each one of these. And we're actually going to go ping pong around a little bit here, and I have a very logical reason on why I want to do that. We're going to start, aside from the business itself, we're also going to start in dispelling some myths before we really get into some of the other areas, because let me just jump off right now and say marketing gets a bad rap. I'm not really a fan of a lot of marketing agencies because most of them are just a lot of inexperienced people that get out there, and it's important for you guys to have this information and really understand what it takes. So if you're listening on the podcast, as always, I'm going to have a PDF, because if you're watching right now, we're going to go ahead and switch over to a framework, a deck that I've put together that is downloadable and is available through my website. And I'll go ahead and put those links available to you guys here. So let's get into it. I want to talk high level on all of these points right now. I'm going to talk about what it is, what really is the problem, and three of the most common issues that might be plaguing you that, hey, does this sound like an issue that you have? And then we're going to go ahead and break down kind of what the costs are. And breaking down those costs will be based on percentages. But there is a hard number for every organization and a personal brand when it comes down to the problems that actually plague a brand or a business thought leader. Your reputation is key here. And my objective is to help you level up, get to the next level, protect that, and just create a better experience for everybody. So let's go ahead and get into it. The brand ecosystem, I developed this framework, this flywheel that you'll see here. I developed it years ago based upon working in the different organizations, is that it wasn't just the brand strategy that I had to create. Because a solid brand strategy actually has to do with every single silo of an organization. It's not just one thing. This is important to understand even if you are developing a personal brand, because if you are doing this in whatever service you're giving, that impact that you make on anybody else, even a personal brand is important for executives, entrepreneurs, because working on your personal brand helps you gain leverage on making other things happen. When we have a bad ecosystem, then we have a bad foundation. And what does this affect? What is the cost of not paying attention to your entire ecosystem? Because sometimes we can get caught up in the monotony of stuff and never working on the business. And so you're going to lose brand equity. And brand equity is not something that you apply to your organization. You, as a company, as a business, does not define the value of your brand equity. Your brand equity is created based upon the purchase rate and the confirmation of purchasing from your audience. So, for instance, if I say to you, it's like, hey, you know what, this is my rate. You are either going to confirm my value or you're going to question the value. That comes down back to me is understanding from a brand business foundation level is that, do I have the right buyer persona here? Because if I did my job and I showed that I know what I'm doing, then you will not question my value. And when we do not work on the entire brand ecosystem, we risk giving up market share. Because I can guarantee you, in any of these silos, your competition is working on something that is kicking your ass. And every business has problems, but what degree? Market share is a major area. And also here's, if you have a bad brand ecosystem, your exit strategy is to sell the company and you have not worked on any of these ecosystem problems, then you cannot sell for top tier. You are going to come back and be like, hey, you know what? They don't want to give you 30 million for your brand. They offered you 10. Oh, that's a big hit. One thing in the business end here is to really get the right focus in place. So what's the problem here in the brand, in the business side of it? That's your foundation. That's why you do what you do. That is knowing why you're in business. That is knowing the solutions that you truly offer. What business are you really in? And the destination of where you're going and why you want to do that. We take these components of this silo, this part of it, and we inject that and we make it sound better in the brand strategy. One thing that we really want to focus on here, and a problem area, is not having the right buyer persona. Not having the right buyer persona, having the wrong allocation of your focus within the three formula lanes when you're doing your marketing and sales and branding. Here's the formula. Formula is this. It's sales, marketing, brand. Where are you putting your money? It depends on where you're at as a business. And if you're putting your money all into marketing, but you're saying, hey, these leads are crap, I'm not converting anything, well, you probably have the wrong idea of what marketing really is. And your sales team, if they're comfortable, guess what? You're going to lose money. So your sales is the second conversion point. But then let's say that you really need to drive sales. You need to bring money in. Then your focus is not to dump more money into marketing and burn it. Your focus then in that moment, the problem really is sales. We need to reallocate there. And so it's having the right formula, but auditing and figuring out where you're at. Many companies don't know where they're really at as far as a business is concerned. And that's where I'd like to start, to really understand those foundations, because we also need to know what target. And most times the target that we're really aiming for isn't really aligned with where we really want to go. And for instance, if you tell me in 10 years you want to exit out, that is a different kind of strategy to be able to get there. And so what is it really costing you? It's costing you in the buyer persona. If you do not have the right buyer persona and you really do not know your audience, the value here is that if you're going out there and you're spending $5,000 on your marketing and you have the wrong buyers and you're targeting 5 buyer types, you are burning through cash, because out of 5 possible leads, you will really 3 of those don't matter. And if those people click on your ad, the customer acquisition cost could be triple the amount that you should be paying. So maybe you're paying $500 on LinkedIn. You could be paying $50, as high as that. And that's what the numbers are, is that you could be paying $50 per acquisition, but you're burning through it because you have 3 other people that you're sending these ads to that don't even want your service. And maybe also that comes down to not having the right values in place that connect with this audience. With this, the benefits of resolving this is that you have clear direction. You have clarity on what your brand is, where you're going. And that's important for every other part of the company, the brand ecosystem here. And you're also able to create better quality leads. With this, you can create a better strategy. The solutions here is really determining what you actually want, where you're really going, what the business really, really is. You know, Subway had this problem years back where, and I think they have that problem again, is that the Subway issue was that you had too many options, way too many options. And if you go to a wing house that just serves wings, maybe some beer, it's simple. It's simple. And usually you're going to order the same kinds of sauces that you typically order. And when we overcomplicate this and we keep this vision and we keep everything disarrayed and we have no idea of where the company's going, the company culture, the strategy, the marketing, nothing's aligned. And then we lead into a leadership problem here. The problem with leadership in branding is that, let me hit you with this figure. There is a 30% impact in your company attrition rate because of leadership alone. Poor leadership costs your organization more than you could possibly realize. It really, really does. And the problem here is that this ego, this idea that, hey, I'm the owner, I'm the entrepreneur, you do as I say, that ego is rooted in this, you owe me something. And that's going to kill everything. It's going to kill your culture. leadership is so important because also as a company, we need to lead our clients. And especially in doing brand strategies, my job as the expert to lead you down the right path. Three areas where this is actually an issue is the leader, or even you in a personal brand, the executive entrepreneur, does not show up authentically. And when you don't show up authentically, people can read right through that. So authenticity also comes down to communication, because if you cannot be authentic, goes into the next phase, is that you cannot communicate authentically. You're communicating from a place of only your understanding. And then we cannot offer clarity with our communication and this understanding, and we're not on the same page. Poor leadership, more people leave organizations over poor leadership than a lot of the other reasons you might think. And this data points, I will go ahead and pull the research, because there are research. Go ahead and do the research yourself. Don't just take my word on it. Go do the research. Find out the true cost of poor leadership, poor operations, poor brand strategy, because you're costing your team, yourself, happiness, productivity. When people feel valued as leadership through their culture, is that they are much more productive. The solution here is you got to really work on yourself. And that's where personal brand strategy comes in, and that development is so important, because when you work on yourself and you actually go and do the leadership, you really understand that, and you have the accountability, not just sending them to a seminar. Some seminars are there, they're great, they're fantastic. I've been to some, I've seen them, some are okay, but you really need to have someone that holds you accountable continuously, because developing a personal brand and being a leader means you have to live these traits. This is not something you just turn on and turn off when you fucking want to. You need to really live in it. And then we got operations. And when we talk operations, the cost of operations in not having everything aligned in the brand ecosystem when we do strategy work is you're losing time, you're losing money, and you risk the experience with your customers. And this also has to do with setting them up right. So the way I love to look at this is that the leader is the conductor of the orchestra. The orchestra is the operations piece here. That is how everything is run. You have to have both. When we are looking at what it's costing you in the problems here, is that scaling can be an issue. Your job as a leader, as a business, is to figure out how to make ways easier, how to make everything easier. That way everybody has what they need, they can do their job better, and you can work on the business instead of just putting out fires. Another issue here that is plaguing the operations piece here is quality control. Quality control is massive, and we are human. Everybody misses a quality point here or there. I've done it. I've sent websites through and reviewed them only to a certain degree because we had to get it up. We had to work on bugs later on. It happens. There's no such thing as perfection. It's just how well are we doing it? How much more can we improve? You will never be 100%. You will never, I can give you all the money in the world, you will never be 100%, because there are other variables that are plaguing that. But when we create SOPs, we can create ways to just make things easier. And the other thing is you're losing time. You're losing time because you're going to do things over and over again, and it's costing your company efficiency. It's costing your company customers, because your customer's not really your customer yet until they make the second sale. What's the benefit? Because if it's costing you customers 2% upwards of 35+%, that's your potential gain by fine-tuning that. And operations is the little things. It's not HR. And I'm going to be very clear, HR people don't like me. They don't like me because, quite frankly, HR is looking out for the company. No one likes HR. And this isn't a jab at people in HR specifically, but if you have people in HR, it's there for protocol reasons. They're there to look out for the company. And this is why it's important in a brand that you start seeing more and more companies that actually have created chief people officers, someone that they know they can trust, that they can go to, because there's this warmth that's just sucked out of the air when it comes down to these people, And then we have we have problems when we do this because it gets in the way of all the other things that really make the brand special. Because in operations, that's also our opportunity to work on the little things so we can scale and build value, reinforce the value through the experience we have when someone goes through our operational process. And then from there, ultimately, we need a brand strategy. Why is brand strategy so important? Your brand, let me make this absolutely fucking clear. Your brand is not your logo. It is not your colors. It is not any one thing in there, and it's not all of those brand basics that you have. Your brand strategy is the operating Bible of the experience your entire company creates for your audience. And there are basics to the brand strategy. But the brand strategy is also organic, but it plays where the leadership component of this, it has to do with marketing and sales. It sets the standard across the board. And having a bad brand strategy means having a bad experience. And what does this cost you? This costs you something in every single category. This costs you percentages off of every single category. So imagine this, off of every category from business, leadership, operations, the marketing, sales, culture, and even measuring the impact, if you took 2% out of each one of those and you added them up, you are taking out a massive chunk of your organization. And most companies are, if you're in good profit margins, from 15% above. 15, 20%, obviously we want more, but sometimes it's not realistic for a small business. So having a brand strategy is so vital because you can't afford not to have one. You cannot afford to lose in any of these places. And no, you're not going to be perfect. I'm not saying there's perfection here. I'm saying you need to work on all of these. And it takes time. It is the communications roadmap and guide on the standard you set across the company board. So when someone picks up that phone, our brand strategy says, this is how you pick up the phone. This is how you greet the customer. This is how you shake their hand. This is how the ads are created. This is how the language is done. So in the brand strategy is if we don't have standards, we don't have anything for anybody to go by. And then also we have poor messaging, poor key messaging in our brand strategy through our copywriting. We miss the mark. We do not at that moment connect with our audience. And then we have a bad experience. And so this brand strategy is costing you alignment through all your departments, because if you have bad key messaging in your brand and you don't know what you're about, because at the business level, at the ownership level, in thought leadership level, you haven't instilled what that vision is, that clarity in the brand strategy, so you can create the key messaging so that the marketing department can do their thing. And then when they get to sales, hey, this is Joe. What's up? What do you need? All right, you need that part? All right, whatever. And it trickles everywhere. When we have a better brand strategy, the benefits of this is that we now have built an opportunity and a roadmap for clarity to create brand power. And brand power leads to market share. And this involves you taking time to work on the business and constantly tool this. And so this then moves me into the next category, which is culture. What's your attrition rate? How much money are you losing? On average, it's about 20% of the salary of that position to replace that role. When we approach things black and white and we approach hiring based on a CV, we risk our attrition rate. And our attrition rate is expensive. Training is expensive. The time, the energy, and your culture is your lifeblood of your organization. And when you do not have a strategy in place for your culture, it leads to toxicity. You hire the wrong people, and then you destroy opportunity for brand loyalty. And culture is both internal and external. And the way to do it internally first, above anything, is to, because it's the lifeblood of your business, is hire based on value. Hire based on people that actually have work ethic. And I know that's almost kind of a myth nowadays, but it's important to find people that are there based upon a value system. Because if you're motivated by money, you're trying to find the people that are there for the CV, because there's a lot of people that they can do the job. That doesn't mean that it's going to be the best, because you need them to work with each other. Now, let's not talk movie-esque where you found the one. Let's be realistic here. When we have a toxic culture, if we don't set a standard on how that culture is, and we don't lead that culture as the example of positivity, then guess what? It's like having kids. Your kids are going to repeat what you say. They're going to be little mini-me's of you, and so will your employees. It really comes down to really believing the same beliefs of what the values are. And if you do not create the environment, more times over not, through my experience and what I've seen, is that the company will create its own culture. And usually that's not good. If you do not give them framework. So if, for instance, if you have kids, or imagine this, is that you go to your kids, like, hey, what do you guys want for dinner tonight? You choose. You're going to have the weirdest dinner, or you're going to have the safest one. It depends on your kid. But you don't know what to expect. It's your job to lead them. And then that leads to the attrition rate. How much are you really losing by not focusing here? Because a bad culture can be the death of a brand. It can be the cancer that destroys everything. So a lot of times when people self-diagnose their brand by their self-diagnosis of a brand strategy, they do not get to the root of the problem. They find an issue on the surface that they can band-aid and they can get through. And so we must hire on more than just the CV, on the skill sets. We must hire on value, and we must nurture our culture. Here's the thing with culture, though, is that bean bags and juice bars are not instrumental in the thing that really solidifies a strong culture. They're helpful, but with culture, it means building people up. It means making sure they feel valued. It goes back to leadership. As you can see, this is all interconnected, every single ounce of this, and it has standards in business. And as we operate, we have standards in our lives. And in the company and the brand, it's our job through the brand strategy to create the standards on how we operate and how we interact with our customers, how we lead this organization. And if we have low standards, we're going to get low clients, and not everybody's worthy of being hired as a client. The other thing with this is that if we have a bad culture and a bad attitude there, then it bleeds into everything else. And the other thing it bleeds into is work ethic and what they produce. And producing something is that we're looking at the short game and long game here. The short game here is sales. Part of marketing, maybe, but the thing here is that marketing as a short game is the red ocean strategy. I didn't create this. And don't let other people fool you on these fucking buzzwords of all this stuff. I'm going to be real with you. The red ocean strategy was created by, I don't remember who it was, but the red ocean, blue ocean. Blue ocean is where you want to be. Red ocean's all the chummed up waters. And when you're marketing, and you want conversions right now, that means you're focusing on 10% of the market. And guess what? So is everybody else. You're going to burn through cash quickly. So part of the other marketing piece here is that you are trying to build awareness and telling your story created from the brand strategy for clients that are going to come down the road 90 days from now or 6 months from now. Your sales, their job is to convert everything right now. It's to get as much as they can right now. It's important if you're a small business, I understand that it might be difficult sometimes, but then through operations, we create an automated system that actually helps you put all this together. The whole thing with a personal brand strategy or even corporate brand strategy is positioning every little tiny piece to work together. And in marketing, and let me talk about this really quick, the ghost silo. Ghost silo for brand marketing and sales is that little gap in silo communications, not a new thing. It's been around for a long time. There's an issue between every single silo. The brand strategy solves this. But more importantly, when we look at marketing, because it's gotten such a bad rap because of misalignment through leadership, business, and operations, and the financial structure of where you're allocating, is that so much is put onto marketing. Marketing is not your savior. It's a tool. It's conversion point number one. Marketing's changed so much over the years. The problem here is that we're missing the mark because we are leaning too much onto it. We have a bad strategy and we have the wrong expectations of what we should get out of our marketing. We don't test enough. And there's so many different strategies. One buzzword that I know some people out there use to their advantage is omnipresent marketing. Now, there is no such thing as omnipresent marketing within just one scope. For instance, there's one guy on YouTube. He talks about omnipresent YouTube marketing strategy. He's actually twisted and reframed it in a way that's beneficial for him, but is also misleading. Omnipresent marketing is being everywhere. Omni, multiple, present, in front of people. Because if you are not in front of people, they don't know you exist. You have to stay relevant. YouTube marketing, and I'm going to give you guys the real breakdown here, is that the way that you do this is that you create a framework of marketing through YouTube and doing YouTube videos, and then that becomes your lead generation, and then you retarget them through other social channels. It is not YouTube omnipresent marketing, it's just omnipresent marketing. Although I really believe in YouTube marketing, that's a whole other rabbit hole that we'll dive into when we talk about marketing specifically. Another problem here is that delivering the right message and not delivering it enough or twisting it enough and getting caught up. When we set our clients up to fail is when we actually haven't retooled it enough, because we also have to make sure that we understand that marketing is one conversion point. It's not all of them. And our cost per acquisition goes up if we are not following the right guidelines, the right messaging, using the right tactics and strategies based upon the brand strategy that influence the marketing strategy so we can get better leads. Marketing and sales is a relationship between the two. Sales and marketing will never break up. That is a relationship that's there. They fight, they bicker, but it's so important to understand that we need alignment between them, because if we do not have alignment between them, what it's costing your company is thousands, if not millions of dollars of opportunity here. Because of every lost sale, because of not marketing at the right time, spending your money in the wrong place as well. In marketing, another area is that, let's say you spent $5,000 on YouTube. No, better yet, you spent $5,000 on Facebook and you don't sell products. You just wasted $5,000. There's a strategy and there's a place for everybody, but that does not mean that you belong there. Like I said, conversion point number 2 is sales. And the problem here is not having a good sales system. Part of sales is part of building that brand experience, and that involves your brand strategy. You can kill good leads because of a poor sales process, and the ego of the sales department by, I'm in sales, get your pride out of the way. Get your ego out of the way. You can always do something better. My job is to level my clients up, is to get them to the next level. If you were a billionaire and I'm on your team and I am there and I am your brand strategist, your personal brand strategist, your goals are going to be different from me working with an entrepreneur that has hit the proverbial $2 million ceiling. There are different goals, different ambitions to get into, to fix. So when we don't work on all these different components of our business, our financial allocation of our brand, sales, and marketing, if we don't invest in our leadership, if we don't invest in our operation, it is costing your organization so much. It's costing you hard dollars. It's costing you good employees. It's costing you brand power, brand equity. And at the end of the day, when it's time to leave and you got that exit strategy, it's costing you power positioning to sell for top tier. And I would love to make you as much money as possible and put you on the map and at the cover of a magazine if that's where you want to end up. It's important to understand that there's a cost for each of these and there's a solution for every single one of them. It's important for this specific podcast is that you understand the problems between them, but there is a way, and you have to have a brand strategy. And personal brand strategy is more so aligned with a lot of brand leadership development, and that's where I like to focus in, because if we can grow and improve the leadership of an organization, we can then find clarity within the business. we can find ways to leverage your reputation as a personal brand to build something bigger, better, stronger, more impactful. Because let's say that you have all the time. Great. I'm not here to coach you on get more time then. Let's say you've got all the money in the world. You can buy whatever you want. Fantastic. I'm not here to do that. What I am here to do is find out what your next level is. Is that fulfillment? Is that impact? Is that to build an empire? Is that market share? There's always a better way to do something. And I know that you guys now, with this, can start to find out. If you guys want a brand audit, connect with me. I'm happy to get it to you. You guys can go down the brand checklist. If anything, I might actually even put that on a link here for you guys to just go ahead and just download the audit. Again, like I said, it's self-diagnosis, but it's something. Start somewhere, and then when you're really, truly ready to jump, get someone who can help guide you. Every star athlete has a coach, and everybody wants to build a bespoke brand. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't be in business in the first place. Go out there, own your power, build a business, and love doing it. Thank you guys for stopping by. I'll see you on the next one.